Hey guys, it's Holy Taboo, and I'm here today to go through a tier list I've put together based on how good characters are for leveling and doing easy PvE content. And when I say easy PvE, I mean anything under basically Ackman. So whether it's from leveling up to basically when you're farming polys, you know, to get that last bit of experience or skill points that you need to go to the next level. So just a couple of things, keep in mind we still have more balances coming soon, especially for Awakening. Now, because obviously each class or most classes have an Awakening in succession, and as much as I'd like to get more of these drawings done, which would be amazing, I haven't. So for the sake of this video, any drawing which is in color is going to be Awakening, and any color which is in black and white is going to be the succession. So just keep that in mind when we're going through. Now, it's also worth noting just one other thing is that I've changed how I've done the background as well, which you're going to see, rather than doing like a rating of 1 to 5, I'm just going to do S, A, B, C, D, E, F. But the problem is, because there's so many people in the A tier and B tier, I have put in an A plus and B plus, but you'll see this. Now let's see, what makes a good class for leveling? It's going to be clear speed, movement speed, sustain, AoE damage, and APM, meaning actions per minute. AK, if you have to do a lot of work, it's not going to feel good. Anyway, let's jump into it. So, we're going to start off with the Archer. Now, the Archer is a fantastic class for leveling. It's so quick, it's so easy, it sustains really well, it has really high damage, and this is very easily an S tier class for leveling and doing PvE easy. Now, moving on to the Awakened DK. The Awakened DK is also quite fast, can move really nicely, has some nice range, and can get around mob packs quite well. So actually, for this, she's a very solid A. Now, if you look at her counterpart, which is the Succession DK, she has maybe a couple more issues, and she doesn't quite do as well as, for instance, the Awakening, but still does really well, so a solid B+. So not quite as good, but still can get around nicely. Now, if we look at the Kuno Awakening is actually quite nice as well, because she has some really nice AoE, she can go into packs and clear, and has some nice movement speed, so she's earned a very solid A with that. Now again, when we move on to the Succession, it's a slightly different story, because her AoE is cut slightly, even though she has really good movement. Just for this leveling point, she's not seen to be so popular, so she gets a B. Better at higher end stuff, to be fair. Now, the Larn. Oh, everyone loves the Larn because they can move around so well, and with nice damage, not huge AoE, but good damage. The Larn really does excel and is a solid A+. Yeah, in the higher end of that A's, because can go around nicely. Now, let's look at the counterpart again, which is the Succession version. This is basically a Larn on steroids. This thing can fly and do some crazy AoE. Definitely earning a very strong S rank. Fair play. Now, if we look at the Maywar, this is an interesting one. The Maywar, the Awakening anyway, still does quite well. But again, there's a lot of actions per minute that needs to be done to do the same amount of work, even though she moves really well. So a B. Now, when you look at the counterpart with the Succession, whilst she still has some issues and the AoE is not as huge, she can go around and clear quite well, because that extra damage, she can move quite nicely and do that, so a B+. Looking at the Musa is just made for this. Right-click class with huge AoE, can go around and just dice things up. Yes, a little bit gear dependent, and actually not too bad on the actions per minute, but a solid S-class. Really, really solid here. Has nothing to worry about. Now, the Succession, I would say, is more geared towards doing higher level content because of the damage, but the AoE isn't as high, but can still go around really nicely and definitely deserves a solid A. Now, if we look at the Mystic's another nice class, and it's almost like designed for leveling. Has really nice sustain. The action, even though she's combo based, the actions per minute aren't too bad, and she does really good damage. So a solid S, really solid there, very nice. Now the Succession version still does quite well, but there's just something about it which the Awakening just feels better. But still a solid A, can clear very nicely, has good sustain, no problem. Now the Ninja, I actually love the Ninja, but the Ninja struggles with massive amounts of APM and not necessarily loads of huge AoE, even though it is huge, but what you have to do it is so much. It's the only class that really gets a C, so I'm going to put the Ninja down there. Now luckily the Ninja Succession is a completely different story and does so well. This thing can just go through mobs quite nicely, does really good damage, and you know what, a very solid A. It does the work and feels nice to play. Now the Ranger Awakening has this issue of needing to chug mana pots. It would be so much higher if it didn't have this addiction to mana potions, so it gets a B+. Even though it can clear really nicely, you will be addicted to mana pots. Now, on the flip side, you have the Ranger Succession, which can do some huge damage from a distance and doesn't have to chug as many pots. Luckily, because of this gets an S+. This is really good for grinding. Really nice. Now, the Shy, a bit of a funny one. She's, even though higher end stuff, she's really good. She can be a little bit clunky at this early level, but a solid B+. The movement is there. She has nice AoE. Something to get used to, but, you know, fine, it's fair. Now, the Sorceress. The Awakened Sorceress can do quite well. Again, she can struggle with a little bit of APM issues, but all in all, pretty nice. So a solid A, has some nice AoE, and can move around quite well. Now, when you look at the Succession Sorc, this thing is built with some mad AoEs put in, and the actions per minute feel like they've slightly reduced. So this gets a lot better score for grinding. In fact, this is a very solid S. This does really well. Now, let's look at the Guardian. The Guardian Awakened does some quite nice damage. The only thing it struggles with, it is rather clunky. But the AoE is nice, you can charge between packs, and you do quite well. A very solid B+, I think. Now, if you look at the Guardian Succession, it's a bit hard. Both of these can be seen as quite simple, but from what I've heard, the Succession actually does a slightly better job at grinding than the Awakening, so I'm just going to give it an A, but both are pretty nice. Now, if we look at the Striker struggles from just the fact that it doesn't have massive AoE, and you're still doing some combos which feel a little bit clunky. Because of this, it's only getting a B, but still does quite well. Now, sadly, the same thing is actually said for the Striker in Succession. A lot of people have said, even though it does quite nice in other areas, it just feels still a bit clunky and it's missing something. It doesn't have that flow. And because of that, it's going to stick in the B tier. Now, when we look at the Tamer's recently had their buffs to the Awakening, and the damage is just so high, and it can just clear through packs very nicely. With your Bolt Jolt combos when you're leveling with some AoEs from your staff, it's a very, very clear A and does a very nice job with it. Now, if you look at the Tamer Succession, it's not quite as good. Even though it's got some big AoE, it's just the damage just doesn't feel quite as good, but a B. All in all, a B, and it's fine. Now, the Awakened Zerker, ironically, is really good for farming once you get your Awakening to use your hand cannon. Yes, it's a bit of a weird playstyle, and it kind of is it's only A because it's a little bit clunky, but you can go around and clear stuff with range, which is nice. Sadly, though, this gets lost on the Zerker Succession. Though this has had a myriad of buffs and you can kind of spin to win, it just pales in comparison to the grind of the Awakened Zerker, sadly, so never mind. Now, the Awakened Valkyrie, strange enough, has got some really crazy movement speed and some nice abilities to do good AoE, and because of this, she gets a special spot in the A+ tier. Good damage, good movement, and not too bad APM. Very nice. Now, the Succession Valkyrie loses a lot of that movement, and because of that, she's going to get a little bit lower when we're looking at the scoring. In fact, to be fair, she'll go from an A+ to a B. So sadly, the Valkyrie, probably a B. Now, the Awakened Warrior has also had some buffs recently and can clear quite nice, though again, you're sort of bound by this. You want more FPS to do better, and there's still some good, action per minute needed, but a solid B+. Now, the counter to this is the Warrior Succession. This can do some really nice damage without too much need for an amazing computer and amazing connection. Because of this, a solid A+, and you're quite tanky as well, which means you're not going to have to worry about dying. Now, the Witch Awakening, she is fantastic for grinding. She has everything you need. Sustain, she can TP, huge AoEs, speed spells, buff up friends, really good, a solid S. Sadly, the Succession fell a little bit sort of underwhelming, with it feeling a little bit clunky for some, so a lot of people will avoid this for leveling, but it still has some good stuff and can fall under the A category. Now, the Wizard's sort of the same as the Witch Awakening, realistically, even though, your Awakening moves are different. Still has nice AoE, you can TP around, has some nice movement, sustain, everything else. It makes it very clear S and can go through things nicely. And probably one of the winners here has to be the Wizard Succession. Again, very easily an S, but having the double TP and the TP off cooldown as well. Huge AoE, this is almost a no-brainer class. This is so nice for leveling. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. As you heard, I've done this in one take, so I wanted to try and keep it as short as possible, even though we're nearing the 10-minute mark. Hopefully, you picked a class which you're going to enjoy playing anyway, ignoring, what's on this list to an extent. But this is just what a few of us have put together to think what we think would be the best ways to level and some of the easiest / best ways to do it. But you know what? If you want to play a Ninja Awakening and level that way, you know, you go do it. Ignore everything I've said. As long as you're having fun, that's the main thing. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And hopefully you're enjoying Seasons. See you guys. Bye.